Hey everyone, welcome to the Tom's Hardware Podcast for today, Halloween 2023, October 31st. As always, I'm Tom's Hardware Editor-in-Chief, Abram Pelch, joined by Raspberry Pi expert Ash Hill, Associate Editor Les Pounder, and our very special guests from Pimoroni, John, Paul, and Phil.
Hello.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. There's so much exciting stuff going on at Pimoroni right now. It's like a trick or treat of new tech treats. So what are some of the latest and greatest things? I know, Les, you have been really excited playing with the PicoVision.
Oh yeah, this is a really nice piece of kit. I'm an old man, and I remember the time when you could just sit down at a computer, open a basic interpreter, and just crack on and make some code. And this is bringing back my youth. It's like a time machine, basically. This.
Yes.
So I'm enjoying it. So I want to know a bit more about it. So, John, Paul, Phil, who wants to go first? Tell us more about PicoVision. Come on, one of you.
PicoVision was. I'm trying to remember how it came about, but I think we actually teased it on this podcast ages ago, right? But it came about as an idea from a night in the pub with a couple of friends of ours, and we were just kind of throwing around ideas for how it would be cool. You could already drive displays off the Pico, and people had shown VGA and DVI demos, but the problem was, by the time you'd done that, you had basically no RAM left, and you had no CPU time left. So it was all spent just driving the display and holding the frame buffer. So we were thinking, how can we make this better? How can we make it more effective? Effectively, we took the path of least resistance and we just chucked two Picos on there, or two RP2040 chips. And we stuck a big frame buffer chip on there for the RAM. And then with some trickery, we do quite a nice trick where one of the processors acts as like the CPU, and that does all the application work, and it draws the image to the frame buffer. And the other processor acts as just the GPU, who's producing the HDMI timing signals, etc., to drive the display. And to make that process kind of fast, the CPU writes into one RAM frame buffer, and then we use an analog mux that literally swaps that chip over to the GPU, so the GPU can then read from it to output the display. So there's effectively two RAM chips, and they just get swapped between the two processors, which means you can copy the frame buffer effectively for free, which is really what makes it work. So it's a cool board for doing kind of high-res graphics, the kind of stuff you couldn't traditionally do on a microcontroller.
Yeah.
On the RP2040, it's pretty amazing what it's capable of, really.
I think the key thing is, if you look at all the DVI stuff out there, almost all of it essentially is running pretty hone C to get any kind of performance out of there. Whereas the PicoVision, you can get some performance when using MicroPython, which is much more accessible for people. And then we've got lots of helper libraries on top of that do things like PNGs, vector graphics, fonts, all that kind of stuff, and make it a lot easier. A lot less like pulling teeth or trying to kind of learn lots of really quite nerdy stuff. So it's very easy to get your feet wet. And the same way we did with Badger, we've packed it with lots of demos. So you plug it in, it comes up with PicoVision OS, and it has a list of demos that you can then go and look at and modify to learn things. I think this is what I did with you, Les. You said, how does this work? And I said, check out this demo. I think that does that. Because that's all the documentation you're getting right now.
Yeah, I can confirm that's how I learned. I just pulled apart the demos and just tried different things, and I managed to make something slightly beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it was important to us that it worked both for beginners with MicroPython and also for more advanced users. If they wanted to code in C++, you can really get some incredible performance out of it. But yeah, it's a difficult product to explain because it's kind of extremely geeky. But actually, when you realize how powerful and fun it is, it's kind of a really compelling thing to mess around with. And in theory, you could use it to make, things like digital signage or scoreboards for sports events and things like that. It's not just a toy for writing graphical demos on. Not that it's not great at that. The product page has some pretty good video examples. I don't know if you want to have a look at that. I can show it on my screen if you want to see.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah,
it's very kind of basic examples, but it just gives you an idea of the kind of thing you can do with it. We've got bouncing sprites. We've got vector fonts. That's a really quite cool feature that you don't get on microcontrollers normally. all sorts of weird, wacky examples that the team have kind of thrown together just to get people started. It's something to give you an idea of what's possible, basically.
I enjoyed that. The Pimoroni sailing ship, the parallax scrolling, that was good.
That was by Mark. He's one of our crew down in the bot lab who do the production, and he put together the this. I don't even know how the code works. I'm not even sure if there's I think there's a MicroPython demo.
It is a MicroPython demo, yes.
It is. So this is a great example of using. Is this using the scroll offset stuff in the GPU?
Yes. So that's like retro hardware features.
As well as making effectively one of the chips a GPU, we kind of went a little bit silly with it. And I have to say at this point, actually, a lot of that work was done by a guy called Mike Bell, who's spent huge amounts of time on this, put loads of inputs into it, and was actually one of the people who was there when we first came up with the concept. And he's added all sorts of features to the GPU, like hardware sprites, like scroll offsets. So in theory, you can actually get quite decent performance because you load all your sprites into the RAM, and then you can just manipulate them by basically toggling registers on the GPU effectively, which gives you loads of scope for great performance even from MicroPython.
That is nice. Well, talking of demos, you've got some demos lined up, haven't you, John, that you can show off live?
I have. I've been porting some of our... These are actually demos that we wrote for the Galactic and the Cosmic Unicorn range, but they port really nicely over to the PicoVision. So this is like a classic fire demo effect that's running at 60 frames a second in kind of a mid-resolution mode, I guess. We've ported the lava lamp over as well, which is kind of fun. It's a bit like what used to be called meta blobs in the old demo scene games. We had different entities kind of merging and separating, what have you. What else we got? Oh, classic text scroller.
Cool.
So it takes a moment for it to upload to the device. I'm pushing code up to my PicoVision while we're chatting.
Oh, nice.
So this is like the classic origin of the demo scene. I mean, I'm not a good demo coder, but this is kind of terrible example of what that kind of thing looks like. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to just mess around with this kind of stuff. And I can actually run Doom live from here as well, if I can remember where I put the files. I think I can. So Mike has also ported. I don't know if you know that. I think it's Graham. Is it Graham Sanderson? He did the RP2040 Doom port. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Mike also took his port and modified it for PicoVision. So you can actually run the full Doom, Doom Ultimate, and Doom 2 directly on PicoVision, which is pretty insane, really, considering it's a microcontroller outputting to what could be a huge HDMI TV running Doom at a perfectly credible frame rate. It's quite insane. Mike Bell's in the chat. He's waving away. There you go.
Oh, let's grab him. There you go. Hi, Mike. Cheers for the work.
Yeah.
So if you look at the back of the PicoVision as well, I think I'm right in saying, John, that the RP24 on there has no flash chip of its own.
Yeah, this is kind of a cool. We didn't really do this to save money, but effectively we have PicoW on one side, so that gives you your application processor plus Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity. Then on the other side we have the RP2040, which is the GPU chip, and because you never write code for that, or I mean you could in theory, but you don't need to, and because there's already another RP2040 on the board, what happens is when it boots, the application processor actually injects the firmware directly into the GPU's RP2040's RAM. So the firmware is loaded on boot effectively, which means you can obviously upgrade the firmware. It also means we don't need a flash chip, and it's super convenient that way, which is another thing that Mike got working. A very nice feature. So it's extremely dark.
It's effectively a constraint, isn't it? The more weird and wonderful and limited we go, the more opportunity there is for people to figure out ways to work around it, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's just amazing what you're able to do with this. How does this? So, is this going? Are people still developing things for the Pico system, and is there going to be like any crossover between what people build for this and what people build for Pico system?
There is the 32-bit SDK, which you can target the Pico system and this, and Darth Freak, aka Charlie Burks, has been grinding away porting 32-bit stuff, which is why I'm sitting here running his Game Boy emulator, which was originally written for 32-bit. and then got ported to PicoVision and the Pico DV board, and has now been ported to this.
Oh,
I'm just hammering
nice.
the start button. So yeah, it basically means anything written for 32-bit that isn't too intensive can be ported over quite trivially to PicoVision and run, which includes a Game Boy emulator.
So that Game Boy emulator, is it like a package on its own? So you have the Game Boy emulator and the Game Boy game in the same
you
package?
Flash the UF2 and you can go and load games from the file system.
There's a micro SD slot on the board, Les.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
so you can actually load your mods onto your ROMs onto there.
Cool. That's what I was thinking. If you get your ROMs and stick it on, or if it's like a package of an emulator with 3 or 4 games, that sort of thing. But no, if you just get your ROMs and stick them on, that is great.
It's obviously quite limited in what it can run, and I keep losing connection with my controller. But come on, controller, come on. You can do it. USB, it's not that hard.
So, Super Mario Land 2 and Zelda Link's Awakening for me, and that's it, I'm sorted. There's no pressure there, Phil. All right, just make it work.
Come on. I'm going to reset it. Hey, we're in something.
Boom, Link's Awakening.
This. No, it's the Parallax ship demo.
It is. Well, we seem to have all turned up to this party with Parallax ship demos.
It's effectively using the same techniques, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well this game runs, but I already have a save file in this beginning.
What do you use to control it?
I'm using an 8-bit do 02, which is there we go.
Oh, I have one of those.
Incredibly cute little controller, and then that's just connected via a splitter cable. It's quite a mess. So power goes in this end, data comes out this end, straight into the Pico W's micro USB port. And then
we made another cursed cable.
So could you do it via? I mean, those are Bluetooth controllers. Can you do it via Bluetooth?
I think Mike said he'd got the controller, particularly this controller, pairing via Bluetooth. But that's a whole bunch of extra stuff you have to fit in the in the Pico W's flash as well. So I don't know how feasible that'll be in people's applications, but it does, in theory, work. Yes.
Great.
That is cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Have you tried? So that's Game Boy. Can it emulate anything else? Have you tried anything else?
I don't have any other emulators, but I do have some 32-bit games somewhere. Give me 1 second. We have a PicoVision dev channel where people have been sharing their apps as they go through. And one of those shares was basically just all of the games that have ever been made for 32-bit ported over to this. Oh, of course, I'm not going to be able to flash it because of my weird USB setup. 1 minute.
Fair
Could
enough.
I remember that now rather than after wondering?
Fair enough. This is just an amazing product, like a really great innovation. I know we talked about this, like when you were still, starting to work on it, and it's just great to see how it's advanced.
I remember that article. Yeah.
Yeah.
Saying, we're going to put 2 RP2040s on something. And then the article was like, Pimoroni takes on PlayStation with gaming console.
Hey,
and here we are.
See, it's much more affordable than PlayStation and gives you much more opportunity to customize your experience. Therefore, I think it's better than PlayStation.
It's taken 3 years for PlayStation 5 to be in stock. This is in stock already.
Yeah, a huge improvement. So what else? What else are you guys working on right now that you can tell us about?
Oh gosh, where were we going next?
We got the skeletons. So appropriate for today.
Yeah, Pi 5 stuff. So it's very early days. We started working on Pi 5 stuff not many weeks ago, really, and I think that's when we kind of got our hands on hardware, and we saw the active cooler. And again, it's one of those things where it's quite close to the GPIO, but I said, hang on, there's probably just enough room there that if you've seen the active cooler, you could probably get a PCB just around the edge of it. Now, it's very much intended that if you're using the active cooler with the Pi 5, which I think a lot of people will, you end up using a boost header to get the hat to go over it. But we've got prototypes of one that just goes around the edge of the active cooler, and we're calling it a skeleton hat for now, which is very thematic.
Very topical, yes, very topical.
Oh, so
Yeah,
it will.
it's kind of
So it'll be an active cooler with a header for the GPIO built into it to save you the hassle of getting a header.
no. You just put the active cooler on, and then you put this hat around the edge of it, effectively. So it's using. It's literally a square with a hole in the middle.
Very big cooler-shaped hole in the middle.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then there's two things we're trying.
There's a picture of the kind of setup. So
cool.
You have the large aperture in the middle, which is basically the cooler and fan area, which sits proud of the skeleton hat. And then we kind of try and attempt to nestle our circuitry around the edge wherever is possible.
Yeah. Do you have the status one, John?
Maybe. Leave it with me.
Maybe. That's the one that's slightly more shiny. It's because the Pi 5 is definitely more like a desktop computer now. And because it feels like what's going to be a first computer for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Where they can use it as a desktop full time. We wanted to go back to the kind of blinky status displays we used to have on our first PCs back in the 90s. And so we've got status hat, which is going to be just a load of blinky lights showing CPU, network, memory usage, temperature, all that kind of things.
Yeah.
Again, just snaked around the active cooler, just because we could.
But what if we could show people what that looked like for, so they better understood it?
I don't know, it's probably in our Slack.
Oops.
Hey!
Sorry.
There we go.
Make it go. Oh, very
Nice.
cool. So
this is legal export. It doesn't bring the full majesty of it, but yeah.
You got a turbo button as well.
Yeah.
So would you stack a regular hat on top of that, or
No, it's got lots of blinky lights on it.
What? You would is there a pass through for putting another hat on top of that, or is that?
You block the lights. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
There isn't on this one, Avram. We do actually have a kind of hat upgrade kit that we're working on that includes adequate standoffs and extendable header so that you can fit a normal hat onto the Pi 5. So it becomes a little ungainly. It's quite tall, but it's what you need to do to get more standard hats on there.
Have you? I mean, you guys have made your own coolers in the past. Are you thinking about making your own third-party active cooler?
No. We had such a nightmare with the fan shim. You have no idea. But just getting hold of the fans was terrible. It was a good product, and we did. It was a really useful product for Pi 4. But Raspberry Pi have the right solution this time, so we're right behind that.
It looks larger on the internet than it is in real life. In real life, it's dinky and cute, and it's just it's a beautiful little thing. Yeah,
no, I had a fan shim, and I really liked it. What's nice though about the current situation is that they give you a dedicated header, so you don't have to use up any GPIO pins for your fan. So that's pretty neat.
The audio skeleton that has a pass through, or it has holes, so you can do boost headers and things, and reuse the GPIO.
Cool. What are some of the other things that you would like to take advantage of on the Pi 5 that you weren't able to do with earlier Pis?
The big thing
PCI
for us
Express.
is that and the DSI/CSI, because now I think it's now 4-lane MIPI instead of 2, which suddenly means you can drive serious panels off it. On the Pi 234, it was really pretty restrictive what you could connect to the DSI connector. But now it's way more capable. So you can definitely expect to see kind of the next generation of hyper pixels coming relatively soon, and they'll be much higher res and have other features, and they won't eat all your GPIO pins. So you'll be able to attach other things at the same time.
Very, very, very happy to move away from DPI-based displays.
Oh no, we'll still have the DPI-based displays too, Phil. Now you have two problems.
Yeah.
Well, they go through the RP1 chip now, don't they? So
I think they do. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how any of that works. To be honest, it's incredible that it functions at all. But yeah, it's good stuff. So yeah, and the other thing, as Paul mentioned, is the PCI Express. It's interesting. There's not a huge number of obvious use cases for it, but there are a couple of things that's a real game changer for, especially attached storage. So
I very much want attached storage and some kind of sound card, I think, as a combo.
Mm-hmm.
If it's possible. I think somebody will do some kind of digital oscilloscope or something through it, where you want to get scans of data into the Pi.
Yeah. I know our friend Jeff Geerling wants to. I think he wants to get a GPU connected to it somehow.
He is dying to do that.
He connects the GPU to everything he sees. Yeah,
it
should work pretty well on the Pi 5.
Yeah, I mean that actually could be that actually. So how is this affecting your cases, your Pi Bow and other cases? Are you redesigning all of them, or have you redesigned them yet for Pi 5?
Yeah, we have a new version of the Pi Bow, which is available to order. In fact, I don't think this is even pre-order now, Paul. Is that right?
I think we've pretty much made enough stock that we can just put it into normal usage now.
Yeah, so actually, I think if you order it now, it will come basically next day, so long as there's no other pre-order items in your order.
Magic push button.
Yes.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah, it does. It has a little press area for the power button, so that you can still access that from outside, which is nice. There you go.
We've pre-broken the case for you, so you don't need to.
It looks really nice. It's a really nice case still. I think ever since we did the coupe, it's been my favourite Pi Bow. Like, there's something about it. It's so much slimmer than the full-sized one, and obviously it's a fair bit cheaper. So it works out well.
Yep. Yeah. We're expecting the heatsink case back in a few weeks, aren't we?
Yeah,
we are. Yes, yeah, that's really popular, but obviously that's had to be updated for Raspberry Pi 5. So
yeah.
Nice.
So,
it's actually a testament to the kind of the consistency of their design that I took a folded metal Raspberry Pi 3 case, and it basically fit onto the Pi 5. The power port was in the same place. The Ethernet, the USBs were in the same place. The only thing that didn't work was kind of the audio HDMI, because that's moved on a lot.
Yeah, no question. So I really am just want to say how impressed I am with the graphics libraries you guys have built up for MicroPython. They're just really amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, I work on them, on my Pimoroni Cosmic Unicorn. I have a Cosmic Unicorn and a Galactic Unicorn. If you were going to at the last minute put up a Halloween decoration with this, what would you recommend?
Oh. Someone was tweeting recently some pretty cool kind of ghost sprites. I can't remember who it was now. I'll have to try and find the tweets, but I think so. Some nice spooky ghost graphics, that kind of thing.
Obvious answer is to do ghost stuff where you get it reflected on a window, so it looks like it's actually hovering in midair.
Yeah,
Pepper's
cool.
Ghost style.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. I'm gonna try to figure out after the show so I could stick it in my window for the trick or treaters who are still gonna come by to see my unicorn. So that's
if you check out Glenn Jones. He has a PIR sensor connected to his Cosmic, so when people approach the window, it detects them. And it plays spooky sounds and shows like a vampire.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Simple but effective.
That's great. Yeah. So what else is new at Pimoroni?
Probably the biggest thing is the biggest thing, right, Paul?
Yeah. So coming anytime in the next 3 years. Hopefully a lot sooner than that. That is, the Picade Max. And it is chunky.
It's
17-inch
beautiful.
panel instead of the 10-inch panel on the normal Picade. It comes with 2 sets of control layouts, so you can have a dual stick layout or a single stick layout with more buttons.
Nice.
We've got a whole raft of PCBs in the back there. You can see mounted inside the case for your controls, the display driver, for the buttons, all the rest of it. And this is the first Picade that you don't have to put a Pi in. It'll also take a micro ATX or an Intel NUC or any, basically anything that's small enough to put in there. There's mount points for putting a proper micro ATX power supply. So
and you've got a unicorn up in there as well.
Oh, and the marquee can be a galactic unicorn, obviously. So this is ultimate Picade.
Okay.
This is Picade's final
form. Power cable.
Wow.
There's no way it's the final form. There's got to be something after this too.
I'm never pleased, Ash. It's always more with you.
I guess a stand-up one.
So obviously we've had Picade. Picade was like our second product, really. We did it in September 2012. Was that right, Paul? October 2012, right?
Yeah, UK's first Kickstarter.
That's it. So Picade's been with us for 11 years, and it's been through 3 or 4 major revisions. And the current version of Picade is incredible. Like, it's a great build. It's slick. It's easy to put together. The very original ones were pretty hard to deal with, and we've refined it and improved it over time.
I don't think mine's super current either.
Yeah, this Max is obviously at the top end of the kind of quality of Picade, and it was about time we did something else with it, and making it bigger was the obvious choice. So it won't be cheap because nothing in it is cheap, but it's a great mini arcade cabinet, and having other platforms in there gives you all sorts of flexibility. And we're actually planning to do a beta run of them, which will be a limited number without the final packaging for people who are a little bit more adventurous at a pretty steep discount, just so we can get some out there, trial them, see how people get on with it, and see if there's any issues with the build and that kind of thing before we release it properly.
My code.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That sounds absolutely fantastic.
You mentioned there's a series of PCBs on the back. Now you've got the Picade X hat. Is that still going to be the main way of interfacing with the Pi on there?
There's no hat anymore because you can use NUC or micro ATX. So everything's done via USB. So the main difference is, if I can remember it correctly, because it's been a while, we have a board that does all the inputs and outputs and also runs plasma LEDs. I think that's the one that Phil's showing you now.
That's like your main slightly older version, actually.
Okay.
And then on top of that, we also have
on that.
Obviously RP2040 on there. We then have a USB audio board, which is also RP2040 on board. So that drives the speakers. And then you've also got the PCB that drives the display and the one for the backlight inverter. Is that all?
Lord only knows when my audio board is gone.
Rogue.
Let's have a look. Yep. There's also audio board, controller board. If you're using the Pi, there is a power board, which is it's a hat. It's a mini hat, and that takes 12 volts and spits it out to the screen, and also takes it down to 5 volts for the Pi.
Something fell off.
Yes, of course. Yeah, the power distribution board for the Pi version. But you get everything in the kit. So whether you want to and there's the encoder for the power control and all the rest of it. So you get everything in the kit.
Control.
So you get
volume.
You get dual control, dual stick control interface, or single stick with more buttons. You get the Pi related bits. You get the non-Pi related bits. So it's one box which has everything you'll need for whatever format you want to make it. Basically, we didn't want to overcomplicate it and have like 12 different SKUs depending on what was going in there. But the design's clever. There's not a huge amount of wasted material either. It's very modular. There's kind of a panel in the back that swaps in and out depending on whether you're micro ATX versus the Pi, but whatever. So it's a really nice design, and very excited about getting it out there.
It does look good. I also like the fact you've got a volume button and a spinner on there. So my brain just instantly saw it and went, "Oh, Tempest."
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. In principle.
Could you map it?
Well, it's an RP2040 on the audio board, so I guess in theory,
why not?
Yeah, you'd have to write your own firmware, but
yeah. That's
the screen's incredible for the large Picade. It's like an industrial 17-inch panel. I think it's 1280 by 1024. So again, it's the correct aspect ratio. Beautiful big pixels. Really, really glorious to see running.
It looks absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. It's a real treat for anyone. Yeah, Tempest. And let's not forget Pong, everyone. You can't forget Pong. My son and I went to Retro Game Expo a few weeks ago here in New York, and they had every single like old console that you could imagine going back to the Magnavox, and they had a slew of really old arcade cabinets. And the favorite one I found was for me it was Atari Ultra Pong. It was great. Don't sleep on Pong, everyone. Yes, Wizard of War. Speaking of things that are scary cool, Ash, you've been looking at some of the great Halloween projects that have been going on. What have you seen?
Oh yeah, we got some spooky projects this year, and I was gonna share a few with you guys that we covered today. So let me get my screen set up. I love this first one just because the name is just great. All right, so this is the Teddy Ruxpin, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a Teddy Ruxpin, except not really. It's quite dead. It's got a Raspberry Pi operating it, of course.
It's scary as hell.
It is. You plug cassette tapes in, and he's animated. His little mouth will open and shut, and his arms will move to cassette tapes, just like Teddy Ruxpin. He's just, don't give it to your child. He's got a knife. I didn't notice that before. He's got a knife, though.
Uh-oh.
There's a picture of the little body. I like this one because the frame is 3D printed. You got the speaker there because it's got to pull the audio off the cassette tape, too, and it's pretty neat.
It's so clever how they've done it. I mean, you got one channel, so the left channel's doing the movement for the bear, and the right channel's just a standard audio, and it's all going through an RP2040.
And there's like only one channel that the servos can be controlled through, so they had to like find a way to send 3 signals through one channel or something along those lines. You'll have to read about it. I'll butcher it if I say it live because curse of the live show. But it's neat how they managed to pull it off and make it work from, like Les said, from just a cassette tape. So the next one I wanted to show you guys is this really cool Halloween light setup, except you'll notice it kind of looks like Christmas lights, and that's because it totally is. There's like a Christmas tree and everything, but he threw in some tombstones, and there's some spooky spiders, and there's like these little Christmas light bulbs that are now ghosts. Because he says they're ghosts. But there's a pie thrown into the mix. I think it's controlling the little marquee on the bottom left. And the little marquee sign tells you what radio station to tune into. So you can listen to the music, and the lights are themed to animate to the music as it's playing on the radio. So that's pretty awesome. I mean, I've never seen Halloween lights before, but yeah, there's the Raspberry Pi. You can spot the red and white case right there. I think it's a Pi 4 that they're using to operate the sign. And the last one was one that Les covered. I thought I'd save the best for last, and it's the Barbie Scream House.
Yeah, I love
Les,
this.
Do you want to talk about that since you wrote about it?
Oh, by all means, yeah. An Arduino R4 Wi-Fi board's controlling this setup, and it's spooky. It's great. It's got everything. It's got the ring girl climbing through the TV. It's got LED filament, which is doing a pentagram. It's got scary ghosts on the screen.
Oh, that's slick.
This combines your 2 great loves, Les, doesn't it?
Well,
Barbie and,
and 3D printing?
Yeah, sure.
But it's the care and attention that they've put to it. But at the end of the day, it's still a toy doll's house. It's not a proper model or anything. It's just you're making it spooky looking, but it's fantastic what they've done. All the little tips and tricks to grungify the house so it looks decrepit and awful. It's great. And then when you go around the back of the house, you see the wiring isn't some elaborate soldered connection. It's just a breadboard with loads of stuff plugged into it, which is great. Just at the bottom of that photograph there. It's just all stuck together with a breadboard, easy peasy. Not much soldering at all. So you could do it yourself. Awesome project, good bit of fun. And yeah, it's spooky.
It's super spooky. And that's all I had to share with you guys. I think those are pretty cool. I mean, we've covered, Halloween projects for the Raspberry Pi for the last I guess it's about 5 years now. And this is a good year. I think what really helped a lot of Halloween projects get kicked off, though, in hindsight, is the Raspberry Pi Pico, because whenever you have a microcontroller, you can buy a handful of them for a lot cheaper and then just, control LEDs, little things. And if this is triggered, make this happen. And that's like, you can build a really cool house with that, like a haunted house with that kind of principle.
Yeah, no question.
So easy.
One could do a lot with Pimoroni Pico RP2040 powered stuff for Halloween. I'm trying to figure out before the sun sets how to put two different my Galactic and Cosmic Unicorn in the window and have them display something scary. And then I'm going to see when I don't have a great costume yet, but if anybody has an idea for what I can do to make this Badger 2040 scary, or my Tufty 2040 scary, I'll try to come up with something.
Put a spooky face on it. There was in the comments earlier. Wasn't Jorvan Moss there?
Yeah, I wish I had one of his pet robots. Like,
yeah, there you go. I'm sure you can come up with something like that.
not today.
Not as
but
good.
yes, but yeah, I'm sure he always has the best Halloween costume of anybody in his neighborhood or anywhere, because to have a robot on your shoulder, like, you can't beat that.
I think
Really
for the Badger, Avram, have you saying my name is Mr. Jackal?
Yeah,
and switch to Dr. Hyde and just switch your personality with it.
Give me that candy. Yes, that's true. I also have an Inky frame. Maybe I could wear my Inky frame or something.
Inky frame would look great with kind of a vintage ghost photo on it. Have that real kind of slightly sepia tone, creepy vibe, I think.
I could do that. I could do something like that. Yeah, last year I had like blinking glasses, courtesy that were Adafruit glasses, and like it wasn't dark enough when I went out, so nobody noticed my costume. They were like, See, but I mean, I guess I could wear a Galactic Unicorn. Be a little bit bulky, but could try it.
Got the lanyard strap for that.
I do have a lanyard that I bought from you guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's got the lanyard all.
Yes, I can. I have like 1 or 2 lanyards I can use for this project. But anyway, I want to thank you guys so much for joining us. It's always an honor and a privilege to have you on, because you guys are really driving innovation forward in this space. I mean, your site, like, I just love everything you guys make. Whenever people ask me what I want for a holiday, I'm like, Pimoroni gift card. So thank you guys.
Helping people get started.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much. Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. We will be back next week at we will now be aligned in the UK and the US next week, right?
We will, yeah.
7 p.m. UK time, 2 p.m. US time. And we look forward to seeing you all then. Bye, everyone.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.